Perfect. So time is 2 o'clock. Good afternoon, everyone. Please let me know if you can hear me, see the screen. Type Y in the chat box to confirm so that I know everything is working fine and we can go ahead. You can type the place from where you are joining in, and we'll just begin in a few seconds from now. Perfect. Thank you, Achla. Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Sangmitra. Thank you, Ashita. Thank you so much, all of you, for responding. And I'll stop the screen share. Yes, and I'll just begin. Perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining here on Zoom. And many of you have also joined from YouTube. So thank you so much. And a quick announcement before we begin today's session. Today, Dr. John, she's joining us from Switzerland, and she'll be talking about the risk management plan. So Dr. John, thank you so much for being with us and helping us understand more about RMP. Okay, so quick announcements for our attendees today. The session will be for about 1 hour, and you can ask questions at the end of the presentation by Dr. John. And I'll be sharing the LinkedIn link of Dr. John and the recording of the entire presentation to all of you who are joining in from Zoom, and stay till the end of the session. Okay. So Dr. John, welcome to this presentation session. Yeah, we can see all of the present. Please confirm if you can see Dr. John as well on the screen. Yes, perfect. So Dr. John, she did her BHMS from India, and she is licensed to practice law in the state of Minnesota. She is a pharmacovigilance and a medical writer professional from Zurich, Switzerland. And besides working as a regulatory intelligence expert and item writer at the Institute of Pharmacovigilance, Dr. John is a passionate freelance pharmacovigilance and medical writer. She is the chair of Switzerland and Austria International Society of Pharmacovigilance, ISOP chapters. She is very active at the European Medical Writers Association, EMWA, Pharmacovigilance and Medical Devices Special Interest Groups. She loves helping pharmacy, not just pharmacy, everyone, on topics related to pharmacovigilance and medical writing. And with this short intro, now I invite Dr. John to share what risk management plan is all about and why it is important for pharmacy and healthcare professionals to know about it. Please share some thoughts and learnings for us, Dr. John, and most welcome to today's presentation. Please unmute.
Sure. Thank you so much, Manoj, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. I'm truly grateful to you. And honestly, I don't consider myself as an expert at all in this area. I'm just a simple speaker. And I'm, as you rightly mentioned, I'm plain and simple, quite passionate about pharmacovigilance and medical writing. So speaking about risk management plan is actually a challenge by itself, but I undertook it to learn about RMP along with you all. So we will make this more of a discussion, and I am simply a facilitator here. Okay. So can you all type it in the chat and let me know whether how many of you are actually aware of what is an RMP or risk management plan, or have you all, at least you're aware of it? Have you worked in it? I just need awareness. So if you can type it in the chat and let Manoj and I know how many of you know about what is RMP is. Okay. So I can see Preetam, she says she's aware of it. Arpan says no, that's fine. I mean, you'll learn at least something today. Okay, Dinesh who says no. So I can see some of you know and some of you do not know about this concept. So that's fine. We will learn. Ashita says she knows about it. Great, Ashita. But no worries. We learn together today what is RMP or risk management plan. So first of all, we have to understand here that although we do a clinical trial, but we really don't know a whole lot about the adverse event or safety profile of a drug when a clinical trial is performed on a particular drug. So we don't know what we don't know, actually. So what we know at the end of a clinical trial is a tip of an iceberg. We may know something about the efficacy, but nothing related to the safety of the drug or the adverse event profile. As we know, clinical trials are very restricted. A lot of people get excluded in the clinical trial because of inclusion-exclusion criteria, restriction of patient population, and underrepresentation of many patients, or a specific group of populations, such as elderly get excluded, pregnant population get excluded. Also, and because you really need a clean profile of patients who participate in clinical trials, a lot of people or a lot of patients get excluded with other diseases. And also because many drugs develop the adverse reactions only later, after maybe after many years, many adverse drug reactions come up. So because of the latency period, or because of the wider range of population, which is actually used once the drug is out or in the post-marketing phase. So we really know very little once the drug actually gets authorized, or during the market authorization. So that is why there is a need for risk management plan to manage those risks, especially which come up during post-authorization phase. Manoj, can you please help me with the second slide? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I hope I'm audible and very clear, Manoj and everyone.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. How are the participants? Please type Y in the chat box if you can. We have 15 of them watching from YouTube and 14 of them watching here on Zoom.
Great, perfect. So thank you so much for your active participation. You can always type in your questions in the group chat and we can address them later, okay? So let's learn a little bit about the EU legislation. EU legislation was introduced in 2004, and actually it came into force with the revised legislation in 2005. Unfortunately, the legislation in 2005 was not very clear. It said that you can have the risk management plan where appropriate. So since the basic conditions where risk management plan system needs to be applied was not very clear, so then we had many revisions in between, such as in 2010, and the final GVP and the GVP module, which came up in 2012. But again, after PRAC was introduced, they tried to tailor the risk management plan system, and then we had the GVP module 5 revision 2 in 2017. So this was made in order to make the risk management plan more rational and more risk proportional. So it's really, really important here that we read GVP module 5, which is actually the risk management plan revised revision 2, introduced in 2017, to be read in conjunction with GVP module 16 and GVP module 16 addendum 1 on educational materials, which also talks about the additional risk minimization measures. Can we go to the next slide? Manoj, please.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So now, what is actually a risk management plan? A risk management plan is nothing but a detailed description of how risks should be managed once the drug is out in the market or in the post-authorization phase. So the risk management plan actually is necessary to identify risks, characterize them, and then once they're characterized, to minimize these medicinal product risks, okay? So it is basically a very detailed description of all the risks of a drug. And a marketing authorization holder are supposed to plan very early in a product's life cycle how they will further characterize and minimize the risks associated with the product in the post-authorization phase. So basically, we are also not just studying the safety of a drug, but also efficacy of a drug through various studies during the post-authorization efficacy studies. So then we have many more risks which also come up along with it. And we are not just implementing, we are not just actually evaluating the risk of a particular drug, but we are also implementing certain measures to minimize this risk. Along with that, we are also evaluating the effectiveness of these measures. So there are many things happening here. We are understanding the risk, we are understanding the efficacy of a drug, we are also understanding how we can minimize the risk of these drugs, and we're also understanding and evaluating the effectiveness of these measures. And basically, this is in order to improve the benefit of a drug. So can we go to the next slide, Manoj, please? Thank you. So why is this done? Basically, in order to keep the risk-benefit balance always positive. It's really important here that the benefit of a drug always exceeds the risks, right? Risk profile. So, and that is from a very greatest achievable margin. So the overall aim of risk management is to ensure that the benefit risk margin of a particular medicinal product consistently remains positive and remains positive to the target population. That means the benefit of a medicinal product must always exceed, and it should always exceed the risk by greatest achievable margin, as I mentioned. So now we have to understand there are so many risks which come up, so many adverse reactions which come up during the when we are kind of understanding or when they're evaluating the risk-benefit margin, risk-benefit balance of a drug. But are all the risks should be included in the risk management plan? No, only those risks that affect the risk-benefit balance of the drug. So now we'll go to the next slide to understand which are these particular adverse risk or adverse reactions which need to be actually included in the risk management plan. So before that, we'll understand when is the risk management profile or risk management plan is prepared. It is prepared when there is a request for approval of a new drug. So for every new drug, we need to have a risk management plan. When there is an application for a marketing authorization, when there is a significant change to the benefit risk profile of a drug, when there's a new indication of a particular drug which comes up, or when there's a new patient population, at the request of the EMA or any national competent authority, and as well as a result of an important pharmacovigilance or risk management minimization milestone being reached. So basically, EMA can request for an RMP, or a national competent authority can request for an RMP whenever there is a concern about a risk affecting the benefit risk balance of a medicine, or whenever the risk management system is modified. Okay, so whenever there is a significant change to the benefit risk profile of a drug. Can we go to the next slide, Manoj, please? Thank you. Okay, so what does basically an RMP include? The RMP actually includes there are three major sections of an RMP: the safety specification, the pharmacovigilance plan, and the risk minimization plan. In the safety specification, what we do basically is to identify risk. We identify risk, then we understand what are the important identified risk and important potential risk and missing information. We will know more about this risk in the next slide. And how we can manage proactively. So basically, first, it's important to understand what are these risks, and not just all the risks, but as I mentioned, only important risks which go into the risk management plan. Important identified risk, important potential risk, and missing information. Then we also, once we understand the risk, we have to understand how to plan and how to identify new adverse reactions, or we have to plan how to manage the pharmacovigilance activities of these risks. And then we have to implement risk minimization measures, and we have to evaluate the effectiveness of these activities. So all these three stages are very important in an RMP, and they form the basic pillars of an RMP. So safety specification, pharmacovigilance plan, and the risk minimization plan. Next slide, please, Manoj. Thank you. So these are the steps involved in an RMP, or these are the major sections of an RMP. There's a general overview of the medicine here. Then we have the safety specification, as I mentioned, which talks about all the risks. Then the pharmacovigilance plan, how to manage these risks. And then we have the plan for post-authorization efficacy study. And then we have the risk minimization measures. Then we summarize, and then we have the annexes. Okay. Next slide, please, Manoj. Okay. So here we'll talk about the entire risk management plan. This is how actually these are the major sections of the risk management plan. That was the outline that I gave you, and this is what it entails. So safety specification forms we have the product overview, as I mentioned earlier. Then we have the safety specification, which forms the basis of the PV plan and the RMP. The purpose of this safety specification, again, as I mentioned, is to provide an adequate discussion of the safety concerns of the medicinal product, and with important risk which need further risk management activities. And then we have, and what are these? Safety specification again has 8 parts. First is the epidemiology of the indications and target population, which as the title itself mentioned, we are actually including incidence, prevalence, and outcome of the target disease to understand the epidemiology of the proposed indication in the European Union. Then the part 2, which talks about the non-clinical part of the safety specification, which includes which gives you a high-level summary of the significant non-clinical safety findings, the toxicity findings, etc., and toxicity-related information or data. Then we have the clinical trial exposures, where we understand about to assess the limitations of. It gives you the summary information on the patients studied in clinical trials, and the clinical trial data, which is specific to the application of the drug. Basically, all these safety findings, which we include from all these, from this profile, could be constitute as an important potential risk or important identified risk to the target population, and then they have to be included as a safety concern. Then we also have the populations not studied in clinical trials, such as they can be considered under missing information, which should be described in the risk management plan module. And this population is basically pregnant women or breastfeeding women or patients with renal impairment, hepatic impairment, or cardiac impairment. And then we also have then we have the post-authorization experience. And in the post-authorization experience, where the product is already authorized or from other authorized products, we also collect the safety concerns from the post-authorization experience. It gives you, and then we also have the additional European Union requirements in the safety specification, which is basically the potential for misuse or illegal purposes, or risk minimization measures, or where we can propose risk minimization measures, such as limited pack size or controlled access program, which we talk in detail later. Then we have identified and potential risks here. So the RMP module should provide a focused discussion on the identification of important identified and important potential risks and missing information. Then later we have the summary of the important identified risks of a medicinal product, important potential risks, and missing information. Then later we talk about the pharmacovigilance plan, which we'll talk about later, about the routine pharmacovigilance plan as well as additional pharmacovigilance activities. Then the post-authorization safety studies. In order to gain more knowledge, these studies are conducted in order to gain more knowledge about the safety and efficacy of the medicine. Then later in the RMP Part 5, we have the risk minimization measures, which include evaluation of the effectiveness of risk minimization activities. Then we have the summary of the risk management plan and annexes to the risk management plan. So basically, this is what a risk management plan entails, from RMP Part 1, RMP Part 2 specification, then pharmacovigilance plan, RMP Part 3. Then we have RMP Part 4, plans for post-authorization efficacy studies, RMP Part 5, which is risk minimization measures, and summary of the risk minimization plan, and then annexes to the risk minimization plan. Can we go to the next slide, Manoj, please? Thank you. So we'll understand what is actually basically important identified risk. We'll understand what are important potential risks and important missing information. So basically, an identified risk, but before understanding what are important identified risks, let us understand what is an identified risk. An identified risk is an adverse event for which there is sufficient evidence that they are caused by the medicinal product. So an adverse event which is identified in clinical trials or epidemiological studies, where the magnitude of the difference with the comparator group suggests that there is adequate causality relationship between the drug and the adverse reaction. Potential risks are those risks which address only those risks that are undesirable clinical outcomes, and for which there is sufficient evidence to suspect. Suspicion of association between the medicine and the adverse event, and the possibility of a causal relationship with the medicinal product. So there is a possibility of an association with the medicinal product, but where there is currently insufficient evidence to conclude that this association is actual cause. So there is a temporal relationship or a biological possibility. Now, what is, so that is potential risk. So now we understand what is identified risk and what is potential risk. But now what is important identified risk or important potential risk? Actually, important identified risk and important potential risk have to have an effect on the risk-benefit balance of the drug. So they have to have an impact on the risk-benefit balance of the medicinal products. And then they are actually called as important identified risk if they have an adequate association with the drug, as well as they impact the risk-benefit balance of the medicinal product. Then they are called as identified, important identified risk. And important potential risk are, they have to have an impact on the risk-benefit balance of the medicinal product, but also they have to have a possibility of a causal relationship with the medicinal product. So there is a difference out there between important identified and potential risk and regular identified and potential risks. Now, what is a missing information? A missing information is something where there is unknown information about the safety of medicines, representing a limit in safety data. So basically, these are populations not studied in clinical trials, such as pregnant women or patients with hepatic or renal failure or pediatrics, etc. So there is insufficient knowledge to determine whether the safety profile differs from that characterized so far. I mean, of characterized patients. So there's a different. There is insufficient knowledge, or there is actually missing knowledge out here. There is no association. There is possibly an association, but there is no evidence as such. So so this is what I wanted to talk about, what are important identified risk, important potential risk, and now we know also what are important missing information. So they have to be included in the risk management plan. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So now what is a pharmacovigilance plan here? Sorry, I am like, okay. So here. So pharmacovigilance plan, now this is the RMP Part 3 pharmacovigilance plan, which includes also post-authorization safety studies, which is basically divided into routine pharmacovigilance activities, and we have additional pharmacovigilance activities. And later then we have summary table of additional pharmacovigilance activities. So can we go to the next slide, which is much more in detail, Manoj, please? Thank you. So basically a routine pharmacovigilance activities are minimum set of pharmacovigilance activities that could be conducted for all pharmacovigilance activities. So here, are we talking here about adverse drug reaction or signal detection? No, something which is actually beyond, because the whole point here is that the minimum set of pharmacovigilance activities are already been mentioned in the PSMF, right? The pharmacovigilance system master file. What has to be included is in the RMP is something beyond adverse reaction reporting and signal detection. So this could be specific adverse reaction follow-up questionnaires or any other form of routine pharmacovigilance activities, such as high-level description of the enhanced passive surveillance system, or anything which is observed versus expected analysis, or a cumulative reviews of adverse events of interest. So, or any special request from the health authority that forms a part of the standard clinical practice, like recording of tests. So any standard clinical practice, any request, anything which is routine, which is considered to be routine, is included in the routine pharmacovigilance activities. Whereas additional pharmacovigilance activities are actually those which are any special request from a health authority that is outside of the standard clinical practice. So additional pharmacovigilance such as activities such as targeted clinical investigations, sentinel sites, such as sentinel sites or drug event monitoring and registries, or post-authorization safety studies, non-clinical studies or clinical studies, interventional and non-interventional cohort studies, case control studies, and clinical trials. So here, each and every safety concern that we understood earlier in the specification plan will have to have a routine pharmacovigilance activities as well as additional pharmacovigilance activities, okay? And at the end, we will have the summary table of additional pharmacovigilance activities. So this is what has to be included in the pharmacovigilance plan, risk management plan part 3. Can we go to the next slide, please, Manoj? Okay, in the post-authorization efficacy studies, there are only those studies which are actually imposed as conditions, or those studies, post-authorization efficacy studies, which are actually imposed or specific obligation to the market authorization, or under any exceptional circumstances, if any post-authorization efficacy studies has to be carried out, then those post-authorization efficacy studies have to be included in the risk management plan. So if no such studies are required, then RMP part 4 may be left empty. Okay, can we go to the next slide? Okay. Okay, then we have the risk minimization measures, or RMP part 5. So we have the routine risk minimization measures, and then we have additional risk minimization measures. So in the routine risk minimization measures, what are certain risk minimization measures which have to be included in order to minimize these risks are summary of product characteristics, or package leaflet, or labeling, pack size, legal status, which will be understand what are these routine minimization measures in detail later, as well as certain subjects are actually included for special medical prescription. So that also we will understand later. Then we have additional risk minimization measures and evaluation of risk minimization measures effectiveness. So this is, can you go to the next slide, please, Manoj? Mm-hmm. So, no, I think you jumped ahead a little bit. Okay.
This was the one, right? And then we went to this one.
Then we have to go to the next slide, I think, which
this
talks a little. No, never mind. Can we go to the previous slide, risk minimization part 5?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, these are basically routine risk minimization measures. where we talk about the summary of product characteristics and package leaflet are important tools for risk minimization, as they constitute a controlled and standardized format for informing healthcare professionals about the medicinal product. Okay, so there are two types of messages in the summary of product characteristics and package leaflet, and such as routine risk communication messages. And these messages communicate to the healthcare professionals and patients the undesirable effect of the medicinal product, so that an informed decision on the treatment can be made. Okay, and pack size is actually planning the number of dosage units within each pack and the range of pack sizes, so that patient will need to see a healthcare professionals at defined intervals, thus increasing the opportunity for testing and reducing the length of a time a patient is without review. Then what is legal status? In legal status, basically, we are controlling the conditions under which a medicinal product may be made available. So that can reduce the risk. So for example, it may restrict where the medicinal product can be administered. For example, whether the medicine is only available in a hospital setting, or by whom it may be prescribed, example, specialists. So there are certain restrictions in order to avail the prescription. So these are legal status that has been provided to the prescription. So there is also restricted medical prescription. There was a special medical prescription as well. These are in order to ensure that there is certain legal status which is given to the medical prescription. So there is no misuse or off-label use. Okay, and additional risk minimization measures are when the studies are done under controlled environment, or there's a controlled distribution of the drug, or educational materials are provided with the drug, or a patient monitoring card is being given along with the drug, or special training has been provided in order to ensure that there is minimized, there is no off-label use, or there is no misuse of the particular drug. Okay, so next slide, please. So in the RMP part 6, there is this summary of the risk management plan, which actually includes key elements of the risk management plan. And we also know that all these risk management plans have to be actually should be publicly available on the EMA website. So if it's a centrally authorized medicinal product, then it is publicly available on the summary of the risk management plan is publicly available on the EMA website, together with the EPAR, or the European Public Assessment Report of that medicinal product. Then if it is a nationally authorized medicinal product, then it is the summary of the risk management plan is available on the National Competent Authorities website. So basically, what does the summary should include of the risk management plan? It should include the medicinal product and what it is authorized for. Secondly, it should include the summary of the safety concerns and missing information. Then it should include the routine and additional risk minimization measures and additional pharmacovigilance activities. So instead of giving the whole risk management plan, you're basically trying to concise it and giving the summary to the public. If it is a centrally authorized medicinal product, it is available on the EMA website. And if it is a nationally authorized medicinal product, it is available on the National Competent Authorities website. So yeah, this is summary of the risk management plan is always available. So the next part is the annexes. Here these are the annexes to the risk management plan. So so the Annex 1 of the risk management plan is a structured electronic representation of the EU risk management plan. And it is not required to be submitted in the electronic common technical document. And the annex can be left empty in the RMP document. So, and the next RMP risk management plan Annex 2 is actually the tabulated summary of planned or ongoing and completed pharmacovigilance study program. Planned and ongoing studies and completed studies. Then the Annex 3 is the protocol for proposed ongoing and completed studies in the pharmacovigilance plan. Then not the imposed ones, but the proposed ones. And the Annex 3 part A is that are the requested protocols of studies in the pharmacovigilance plan just submitted for regulatory review with the updated version of the RMP. Then we have the Annex 3, which are amendments of previously approved protocols of studies in the pharmacovigilance plan. Then we have also Annex 3, which also have Part C, which have previously agreed protocols for ongoing studies. Then we have Annex 4, which includes the specific adverse event follow-up forms. Then this annex also includes the follow-up forms to collect additional data on specific safety concerns. Then we have Annex 5, which are protocols for proposed and ongoing studies on RMP Part 4, which is the pharmacovigilance plan, and details of proposed additional risk minimization activities in the Annex 6. Then we have supporting data or reference material in Annex 7, and then Annex 8, which includes a summary of changes to the risk management plan over time. So basically a list of all significant changes to the RMP in chronological order should be provided in this annex. Okay. Can we go to the next slide, please? Now, what are the responsibilities of the marketing authorization is to review or constantly provide RMPs with the first 5-year renewal. And then after that, when after the PSU first 5 renewal, then the next one, when the first PSU following the first 5-year is due for submission, it is anticipated that the next RMP is also provided approximately within 8 to 9 years following the grant of the marketing authorization. So these are the two major milestones where an RMP has to be provided by the marketing authorization holder. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. We always call that risk management plan is a risk proportionate document. So here again, we say that only important identified risks or potential risk and missing information that are likely to have an impact on the risk benefit balance of the product need to be included. So that is why we called an RMP as a risk proportionate document. Okay. And it is also, next slide, please, Manoj. So, and that in order to make this as a risk proportionate document, RMP is also a dynamic document. So there is constantly an addition of safety concerns, also removal or reclassification of safety concerns. So over during the formation of an RMP, the RMP is constantly updated throughout the life cycle of the product. So an identified risk can be eliminated, potential risk also can be eliminated, and there are also constant changes which are happening within the RMP. The next slide, please, Manoj. Okay. And we also say it is an active substance-based document. And what we mean by that is that each RMP will have only one active substance. So there may be many medicinal products, but containing one active substance, but RMP is actually one active substance and may have many medicinal products for one active substance. Okay. So it's an active substance-based document with only one active substance with many medicinal products. Okay. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. So an RMP also has to be updated. Okay. So RMP has to be updated when there is a change in the list of the safety concerns, or when there's a new or significant change in the existing additional pharmacovigilance or additional risk minimization activities, or whether there is a change in the safety concern or in the key messages of the educational materials. So there is RMP has to be basically updated when there is a new indication, extension of applications, new manufacturing processes happening, or updating the summary of a product characteristic label or package leaflet. So whenever there is a change within the safety concerns or any significant change happening within the life cycle of a medicinal product, an RMP needs to be updated. Okay. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. Now, basically, we want to understand the purpose of RMP in pharmacy. Basically, RMP consistently assesses risks, characterizes risk, evaluates the risk, and minimizes the risk, correct? So this is to ensure the safety of the drug and thus appropriately manages the risk right from the development phase to the regulatory review and then to the post-marketing phase. So the RMP aims to evaluate the risk of drug at regular intervals in response to the progress of post-marketing surveillance. This is to minimize the risk of drugs. So basically what we are trying to do is constantly evaluating the progress of the risk and how we can evaluate the risk and minimize the risk throughout the life cycle of a drug. So basically this is the purpose of an RMP and how to basically evaluate the risk and minimize the risk throughout the developmental phase. Can we go to the next slide, please? Now, Now, what are certain careers for pharmacy students as well as life sciences students in EU? So basically, you can work as an aggregate reporter. You can work as an associate in clinical data management. You can work as safety scientist, and where you'll have to consistently monitor risk management plan. And as well as you can work as a PV writer if you're planning to get into if you're planning to become a medical writer. Or even in the area of a pharmacovigilance specialist or process specialist. So these are certain areas where you will have to encounter risk management plan. If there are any other new areas, please inform us as well. So this is what I came to know through my own research and understanding many other people who are also in this area, where you can encounter risk management plan, where you have to write risk management plan. This is actually basically my last slide. Summaries, certainly. So as I said, risk management plan includes all the existing potential and missing risk, and how a pharmacovigilance plan to handle this risk. Then we also understand the efficacy of a particular drug or in various clinical trials. And measures to then risk management plan also includes measures to prevent or minimize risk and evaluating the effectiveness of these measures. Okay. So yeah, and did I go ahead of my? Okay, and the next is thank you very much. This is my last slide, a summary. Thank you very much for listening. And if you have any other questions, if you can add even to my knowledge, even I'm learning along with you all. So please feel free to share any comments or if you have any questions. I hope I was clear, Manoj. And
Yes, Dr. John, perfect. Thank you so much for that informative session. And I now know that, why people are, back of pharmacovigilance as a career. There are so many, options and opportunities there. That is one reason why people are, trying to get more and more into pharmacovigilance as a career. So there are a few questions, in the chat box. I'll read out for you. One question is from Preetham. Preetham says, what is the difference between RMP and REMS? Does minimization and mitigation similar terminologies? So there are two questions.
Oh, okay. What I understand is risk evaluation and mitigation strategies are actually performed in the US, as well as RMP. What I understand is, according to my understanding, both are quite similar. Just the names are different. Like in the US, we call them as risk evaluation and mitigation strategies, and in European Union, we call them as risk minimization plan. So this is what my understanding is. If you have any other understanding, or please let me know too. As I said earlier, even I'm learning along with you all.
No problem. That's fine. Perfect. Thank you. And second question is from Shrestha. What is the role of a PV writer?
A PV writer, according to my understanding, is again, he has to write a risk minimization plan. And this is what I have known and I've understood as PV writers, because when I came across risk minimization plan, this is what I've done is writing, as I gave you all those major sections. your contribution is to basically do your research and even understand through various documents. I mean, you will get like protocols, you will get like whatever the confidential documents you will be given. I don't want to talk about all the documents here because they are all confidential. So that you will have to basically write the risk management plan based on all the sections that I mentioned earlier.
Okay, perfect. So thank you so much, Dr. John, and thank you, Shrestha, for asking that question. And for participants on Zoom, if you want to ask any specific question, please raise your virtual hand, and I'll unmute you. You can ask the question directly with Dr. John. And for all of the other questions that are on the chat, I'll be reading out for Dr. John so that she can answer them effectively for you. Next question is from Preetham. RMP opportunities is basically for physicians. Does it encourage any other degrees also?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so. I've seen many non-physicians also writing RMPs. I've seen pharmacy students, even I've seen biology students. And according to my understanding, like as long as you have a life science background, you can actually write an RMP. I don't think so. It's a very challenging task. What is more important for you to understand the terminologies. And if you are in life science, whether you're a physician, non-physician, whether you're a pharmacy student, you can do it. And I'm sure, like, basically at the very fact that you are a pharmacy student, you are very intelligent by itself. So you can write an RMP, certainly. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I totally agree and echo with Dr. John. RMP, a lot of pharmacy professionals are working in pharmacovigilance and RMP. I know, personally, I'm connected to so many of them here in India. I'm not sure aware about other countries, but in India, for sure, pharmacy professionals play a big role in total pharmacovigilance and RMP as a unit. So,
yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Preetham, for asking that. And Dinesh, next question is from Dinesh. After M.Pharm pharmacology, can we directly work in RMP? Dr. John, you want to take that, or else I'll answer that?
You can answer that, certainly, Manoj, because, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So Dinesh, after M.Pharm, you can get into pharmacovigilance, and there are a lot of units and work on pharmacovigilance as well. We have done a full-fledged webinar that's like 2 hours webinar on career opportunities in pharmacovigilance. You can watch that. And RMP is one of the part of that pharmacovigilance, right? So once you have the basic experience in handling rest of the pharmacovigilance, then you can be part of the RMP team as well. Okay. Thank you so much for asking that. Next question is from Anupam. What is the difference between core RMP, EU RMP, and US RMP?
Okay, so I think Anupam Mishra, can you help me also to understand, because I know you know a lot more than me. So, according to my understanding, core RMP, I mean, it should be like the summary of RMP, and the EU RMP and US RMP, REMS, as we rightly pointed out earlier. Risk evaluation mitigation strategy, that could be an US RMP, and the EU RMP, which I mentioned here earlier. So this is what is my understanding. If there is any other understanding, please clarify here. The core RMP is basically like a summary of an RMP that I mentioned earlier, and EU RMP is the big long RMP or something that I mentioned in the big profile, and the US RMP is the risk evaluation mitigation strategy that I mentioned. Is this exactly what I understand, or is there anything else that we can add here to who are
I
here?
I think Preetham wants to add something. So Preetham, please unmute, and if you want to also switch on your video, you can do that and add.
Yeah, sorry, I could switch on the video. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Core RMP, EU RMP, there are a lot of different kind of terminologies in pharmacovigilance domain. Core is similar, it's basically very similar to the labeling perspective.
I'm sorry, your voice is breaking. I'm not sure if it is the same case for everyone, but your voice is breaking.
Hello, now it's audible?
No, I think it's better. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, it's better now.
Yeah. So core RMP, EU RMP, as per my understanding is that it's very similar terminology. Comes to IB and uh, uh, IB, CCSI, and those leveling documents. So code RMP is basically a generalized version where all that is basically a very confidential document inside any organization based
Yeah.
on which all the RMPs, whether it is new RMP or any other RMPs are made. So that is the basic difference which I have come across. So that lies the difference. And for US, it's never RMP; it's always risk. It's risk evaluation and mitigation strategies.
Yeah.
So US have their own sector. So that's my understanding on core EU or any other RMPs. It can be in a local language too. There are each and every regulatory authorities might have some very basic difference requirements to put forward this kind of documents.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much, Preetham, for adding that. Yeah.
Thank you. So
Thank you so much. Thank you.
that's it.
Thank you. That really helps us. Thank you. Yeah, perfect. So we had some new additions there. That's good. Thank you. And Dr. John, we have another 10 minutes. I have few questions. They're very basic, so I'll take those questions. Participants, if there are any specific questions related to, this session, then please do ask. We won't take other questions. Other questions I'll be answering to you separately. Don't worry about that. Dr. John has to go for some work. She has been kind enough to be here with us even on a holiday. It's a holiday for us, for her. She wanted to spend time with her family, but then she has come here. So if you have any specific question with respect to, then let's discuss that.
So yeah, thank you very much, Manoj. Thank you very much, everyone, for giving me this opportunity. If you have any questions, please feel free to connect with me via LinkedIn. And yes, happy summer, everybody. And stay connected through LinkedIn or any other resource that you can find.
Absolutely,
Thank
Dr.
you.
John. Thank you so much. And I wish
thank you
have
so
a
much for having
weekend.
me. Thank you, Manoj. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. And I'll answer some of the questions participants have. So participants, no problem. Okay, so I'll take some questions from related to medical writing. This is from Sangamitra. So Sangamitra, you can definitely start as a freelance medical writer. We have a lot, and also as a fresher. We have done about 10 different webinars on medical writing alone. And if you could check those previous recordings on my YouTube channel, you'll get a lot of insights and thoughts. And even after watching them, if you still have a lot of questions, then please feel free to connect with me and I'll definitely help you out. Okay. So next question from Shrestha, what is the scope of career in Pharmacovigilance? Huge career opportunities in medical devices for sure. And we also did a webinar specifically on Pharmacovigilance. Our speaker told all about what is Pharmacovigilance all about and different career opportunities there. So the recording is available on my YouTube channel again. You could just search with this term and you can watch that recording. Okay, so next question. Yeah, perfect. So we don't have any other questions. If you want to, connect with either me or Dr. John, you can search both of us on LinkedIn. And if you're joining in from Zoom, then definitely you'll be receiving an email from me with all the information related to this recording of this webinar and LinkedIn link of Dr. John. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for joining in today. And next week, if you want to learn more about article writing or review article writing or manuscript writing, please do join next week. Next Saturday, we'll have some wonderful learnings on manuscript writing and research writing. That will happen next Saturday at 2 p.m. And this webinars I have been conducting every single Saturday at 2 p.m. since last more than 1 year. And all the recordings are available on my YouTube channel. So just in case you have not gone through, please watch 45 plus webinar recordings on the YouTube channel on different topics. And if you want to, request on specific topic, then you just send a LinkedIn connection request and request me there. Or if you are connected with me on Telegram or WhatsApp, you can always send me there as well. So thank you so much, all of you, for your time. And today's session was a short and crisp session. We just wanted to have Dr. John to talk about this wonderful topic of RMP. A lot of queries I was receiving on RMP from India and from other places in Europe. So I thought, okay, fine, let's have this session for you. And I hope we, both of us, were able to add some value to your learnings. And if you still have some questions with respect to any of the topics we have already discussed or today's topic, then do not hesitate. Do ask questions, and then we'll try to definitely respond you. And I'm sure none of us are perfect here. We are all learning, and we'll definitely try to learn and then add value to your learnings. And with you, your value will try to learn something. So thank you so much, everyone. And we'll meet next Saturday if you are interested in scientific writing. Thank you, and appreciate your time. Of all the 15 of you who are joining on Zoom, and some 10 of you watching on YouTube as well. So thank you so much, and thank you, Dinesh. We'll meet on coming Monday at 5 o'clock in the morning for our continued learning sessions. And I do these learning sessions for pharmacy students at 5 o'clock every day, that is starting from coming Monday. So if you're not part of that, do watch out for my information on Telegram and be part of that. Perfect. Thank you so much. And some of the students are also here in this Zoom session. So I invite you to be part of that session. Thank you. And thank you so much. Thank you, Ashita, Dinesh, Amit, Ashit, Devarun, Dinesh, Pritam, Raghunath, Rania, Sangmitra, Sashank, Sreshta, all of you, thank you so much. And many of you who are joining from YouTube, thank you so much for your time. And I hope this session was able to add some value. Okay, we just want to add some value because it is impossible for us to tell everything about a particular topic in just 1 hour's time. None of us can do that. We just try to create some awareness and some value. So just in case we have missed something, so sorry about that. And just in case you feel we added some value, thank you so much. We'll meet again next Saturday for some more learning. Perfect. So with all your permission, I would like to end this session for today, and then we'll meet either on Monday or next Saturday. Okay, thank you.